Hey everyone, how's it going? And welcome to another podcast. This week will be probably a really nice. Oscar's not here today. Uh, he got sick. Um, so,
He's sick of us, am I right?
so we'll, it's Joey and I. We're going to be talking about some interesting stuff. Before we get into that, before we get started, as always, if you guys are looking for forceable singles or sealed product, including pre-orders for the next set in the Alice Origin cluster, be sure to click on the link in the description below to go over a Happy Little Hug Factory, and make sure you click that link in the description so they know we sent you over. Over there, they have pre-orders for the next set, which is the smaller booster boxes, and they have them for $48 a piece on there. And they allocated a lot. You could see, I don't know what they were at now, but they were a little at over at 200 last time I had checked. So they have enough there, hopefully, to go around at least for now. As well as pre-orders for the new star decks for Faria and Melgus, $15 per star deck to pre-order those on the website as well. So be sure to check all of that out. And I would highly recommend, if you missed it, to go check out the TCG news from last week, where I go over more details on those sets and the importance of pre-ordering now, and a whole bunch of other news as well. And going forward, I just Oscar and I have been working on some stuff to make the TCG news and stuff really, hopefully, nice quality. So we'll be doing the first test of that this week, but be sure to check that out. Let us know what you guys think of it. And also brought to you by Play DKP Accessories with their magnetic playmat. If you want to play games on the go, in a car, outside in the wind, at your locals, move your thing around without the cards flying around, do things like that, be sure to check out the magnetic playmat. We have a link to their website below, and use code TCG for 5% off your purchase of the magnetic playmat.
Nice.
And
what are these new changes? Because this is the first I've heard of them, so they don't tell me nothing.
Which changes?
So yeah, give me a little sneaky peeky,
Of the news changes?
Yeah.
News. Well, we got a light. You might see my lighting's a little bit better here, and that's because there's a bright light. One of the reasons that we've been having trouble with green screen is because my lights in this room, the actual ceiling lights, don't work. I think it's an electrical problem. So it created some lighting issues that a 3-point lighting system doesn't solve with a green screen. So we finally, thanks to our patrons over at patreon.com/tgscrubs, join if you want to see the mini podcast and a bunch of other content we've been putting on there. But we were able to get a new ring light, which we can adjust the dimness, and it has a center point, which you can put a phone or a camera on. And so I'm actually going to be switching from my DSLR camera, and we're going to be filming, because I had gotten a new phone, and it can film at 60 frames at 4K. And so we're going to do a test run. It just takes so much space to do that. But we're going to try doing a test run and see if that works, because if it looks really nice if that goes through. So we have that. I was able to get some stuff, so I should be able to use a lapel mic again because mine had broken. But I'm going to be using that again to help with the audio. And then you can kind of see on the ground there, that's the foam sound thing. It unfolds.
Oh, yeah. I know those.
I've been using it on the news, but with the Yeti mic, and even though the sound hasn't been the best, that helped a lot with it. But I'll be using it. I'll probably use it a little bit with the news, just to help make sure the sound isn't echoing and bouncing back, so you get a really nice crisp sound to it. And I'm going to try and use it with some other stuff as well, but for the news specifically, doing that. And I figured out a better method for cutting the green out of the green screen in post in the editing, because that's a big pain in the butt, and I think I've figured out a better streamlined way that's should also look better as well. So I think all these elements combined is going to be 1,000 times potentially better looking news, and probably if it looks really nice, it'll probably branch off into other content that we do, such as whenever I get a chance to edit it, the shorts and stuff like that. But yeah,
cool.
So that's what I've been working on the past week or so. And now that I finally had time, I've been having a lot of stuff the past several weeks going on, but it's starting to have some freed up time the past week. Not anymore, but the past week I had enough free time to get everything going on that. But yeah, so I'm pretty excited to see all that go down.
Exciting.
Oh, all that's combined with the better green screen that we had gotten relatively recently.
Yeah. I remember seeing that.
What were you saying, Jay?
No, I was saying that it's good. It's good. Good quality upgrades. That's always enjoyable for everybody.
Yeah.
I have been kind of laughing at, you know, a lot of the like, man, you got to get more excited about the content coming out. You got to spice up the TCG news. It's like, Colin isn't really like that. But
well, I'm gonna try to be like that. One thing people don't realize is when I go to film that's after me just on and off throughout the entire day, like hours worth of me collecting the news and typing out that giant article and putting all the images and stuff. It takes forever. And I take that, and then if the news is 20 minutes, that means it probably took me about a half hour to film that, and I'm filming that after I got off of work and drove home and did some other stuff. And depending on how I time everything, I do video editing for a second job, so I might have done that already, and so I'm filming that at like midnight, and so I still gotta go edit and stuff. So I'm just usually just really tired when I'm doing it, but I'm gonna try and I'm hoping some of this stuff also is going to streamline it to make it so I can put less effort into it, because filming with the DSLR is just a lot of extra work. Yeah. So I'm hoping that, and then I'm going to just try and like concentrate more on being more upbeat, or at least being less sleepy when I do it.
Less monotone. I think as long as you're not monotone and crack smiles, that should kind of help out a little bit.
Yeah, no. Sorry about the dog, but yeah, we'll see, because I'm also just reading so much stuff. But I'm gonna try printing it out on paper, and maybe that'll help rather than reading off the phone, since the phone will be filming anyway. So
what are our other topics?
All right, so the main topic Oscar wanted us to talk about was these possible CR updates coming. So there's a lot of interesting news that's been coming out that is sort of could potentially be, I don't want to get my hopes up, but it potentially could be the company listening to people being upset about different things and different.
Yeah.
So one of those is we're getting word that there's going to be a CR update in the next, before the end of October, I believe they said, sometime between now and October. I don't know if that means between now and the beginning of October, or sometime between now and all of October, which obviously is way later than we usually got CR updates, and you know, ideally would get CR updates. But the fact that we're getting something is more than what we thought. So, or might be getting something. Obviously, it's not confirmed until it's confirmed, but it sounds very likely. So, I'm happy to hear that, at least. That we are possibly getting a CR update, which also includes, I think someone said it possibly includes fixes to some of the erratas, or possible errata fixes.
Yeah.
I'll double check, but
yes.
What do you think, Joey?
I believe that Oscar was saying that yes, they were going to errata or make clear some cards. Specifically, if I have Oscar's screenshots that he took of the Discord. I guess it came from Australia, is what Oscar's saying. But there's changes to Perfect Loki, Deus Ex Machina, Alice, Lucifer, Arthur, and Dark Alice.
Yeah, so yeah, you're right. It does look like they're doing erratas. So like Dark Alice just has errata,
and Utgard Loki also.
Yeah,
he also needs.
Some of them are just clarifications, like Dark Alice says banish an entity when it should be banish a non-J-ruler entity. Though per the CR, I don't think that really matters too much, because you can't banish a J-ruler. But
yeah, like, you know, Loki, Perfect Loki. I guess it clarifies that you put him back into your ruler area, and then the Perfect Loki card, Resonator card, goes in your graveyard. Stuff like that.
Yeah, but the big one.
The big one I thought was Lucifer and Utgard.
Oh yeah,
are the two big key erratas.
I don't see Utgard Loki on here.
He isn't on the screenshots that Oscar was sharing, but they had already talked about it. So I'm like really, really positive that he's going to be changed also. For clarification, they're changing him so that the templating is the same as all the other giants. So he's going to gain his destroy target J/Resonator on his discard ability.
Yeah, which...
In case people were confused, because I know I could probably confuse some people during my set release thing, set review.
Yeah.
But yeah. But he's going to function as all the others giants already function, which is same. Both the abilities are basically the same.
Yeah, which I'd dedicated a whole section on the news going over. I didn't like that we were going to be doing community erratas, which I made the point that out of like CR clarifications and bans and erratas, I think the erratas is probably the worst thing you could do as a community, as far as like retaining that and communicating that to people and stuff like that. Like that, and I went into detail in the news. But if this becomes an official company thing that they'll have on their website and the main Facebook page, that would be ideal. I still have very big qualms with it being a 3-cost instant discard and destroy J Ruler or Resonator. But that's separate. The big one, this is like triply big, was Lucifer.
Big.
I did not expect both the clarification, and then if there was a clarification, I expected it to do these two things, and then I'm doing three things. So
to be clear, if this is all correct information, they're planning on errating Lucifer for his end of turn ability will count.
Real quick, clarify. They're not errating him. They're updating the CR so that the wording of him works this way.
Yeah.
That
sounds right. So his end of turn ability will you will recover life due to loss of life, payment of life, and reduction of life from damage. Which.
So I've got qualms with that.
I'm 80% sure that the reduction of life from damage is going to be attacks also, right?
Yep, damage is reduction of life of damage is just straight up just damage, whether that be attacking, a lightning strike if you're playing Wander, I guess. Any type of damage is like damage reduces life.
Satan, for example, has a clarification on his card that says card effects that cause you to lose life. So that will count damage. For example, if
true.
For example, like the red black stones that where you tap them to produce red and they deal 200 damage to you. That works with Satan, but taking damage from Satan doesn't work. So Lucifer looks like he's gonna just any damage taken from your opponent's resonators or your opponent is going to you're gonna gain that back at the end of the turn, at the end of every turn, at the end of your turn.
It's that. At the end of your turn. And so the problem with this, I guess, like
that's a good point. I didn't notice that. So he won't gain back any damage dealt by their attacks because it won't be at the end of your turn.
Correct. But, Huh. But see, the problem with this is you got the pain life, which we were talking about. So now you can his ability of 3 and pay 1,000 life, discard a card, put this card from your graveyard into the field. It's just to pay his cost and discard a card and put him into the field. And the discarded card could be putting a Lucifer into your discard to key it up.
It could be really good too.
Tee it up for later on, and you combine it with. I always blank on the name of the
Satan.
No, the freaking Estema, where enters your not the enter effect, but you can pay 400 life, I believe it is, and draw a card. It's 500 life.
Yes. It's pay. I believe it's pay 400 life.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to talk about the pay 1,000 life.
No. So the draw a card is now officially just. If that's on the field, you just draw a card each turn for free. And if you have multiple on the field, you draw multiple cards each turn for free. And you can pay 1,000 life and deal 500 to your opponent. If you have multiple on the field, you pay 2,000 life to do 1,000 to your opponent. And then you gain that back, so you're just each turn just pinning your opponent. And Darkness does have protection mechanisms already inside of it in the form of
Power of Immortality?
Yeah, I'm blanking on names today, but yeah, Power of Immortality. It has ways to get stuff back onto the field easily. That has the 2-cost chant that brings a 3-cost from the graveyard in the field, in addition to Lucifer having his passive ability. And the only thing you need to keep Lucifer keeping at it, is to have enough will to keep doing it, which Black has in the form of the altar combo. So running altar combo with Lucifer and a Stemma, I think, is a really good a strategy combo, because and your opponent, not that this happens too often I think in the current format, and obviously they'd play around this so it wouldn't even matter, but so your opponent can't do damage to you essentially during your turn, and you can play that stone that is red and peens you for 200 relatively easily, stuff like that. I think the paying life though is really I think really strong to gain back.
See, I think my only issue is that I think Lucifer himself is useless without paying life, like working with him. So obviously, like if you keep him where he is now, I think he's kind of useless. If you give him the pay life and the loss of life and the reduction of life from damage, like I think he could get really strong. Now, to clarify, when I first like looked at this and stuff, I didn't fully realize that it only works at the end of your turn. So that's really that's going a long way to kind of like make my fears not as bad, because I thought he was going to be able to prevent damage basically, or gain back damage your opponent dealt with, which is not true, which is really, really nice. I will say I do see where you're coming from, Colin, and I do think that I think the altar combo, Layla combo, like that incidental like life loss and like paying what's it called, freed from the altar, like that's all stuff that is like built-in costs and built-in detriments, and not having those is going to make black decks really, really strong.
Well, and that's one thing that people always, whenever someone complains about something being potentially too strong, they're like, oh well, life is a resource too, don't worry about it. Can you imagine if there probably is that I'm not thinking about, but like cards that would say like, any will you spent this turn, or amount of stones you tapped this turn, recover them at the. And that's not even a good comparison, because the life one I think is even more significant. But and the fact that also I forgot to mention is having 2 of these on the field is a big deal, because now even if you're not going to do anything, just you put him on the field, and the turn that he's on the field, and if you have 2 of them, just use his passive ability of paying 1,000 life to give him +2/+2, even if you can't swing. And then at the end of the turn, you can gain 2,000 life off of that 1,000 you spent to try and build up your life, so that you can buff him, have enough fuel for other stuff to just stack it, so that you don't have to worry about, you don't have to worry about, if you're going to say against a red deck, getting your life too low before you end of turn recover that health, and your opponent sniping you out of nowhere. It's potentially really, really strong.
Yeah. We'll definitely see where it kind of comes in. I'm
already annoyed at a Stemma. Yeah. Like each time I play against a Stemma and it pings me for 500 by paying 1,000, that is such an annoying mechanic. That is not fun to lose against. So the fact that I'd be able to do it for free kind of sucks.
Well, I think Lucifer. I think there will be like kind of counterplay with by killing him. I think it's possibly a risky move, but who knows? There's definitely going to be stuff in there. Like I do think Power of Immortality is going to be pretty key if people want to go that route with keeping Lucifer alive. Like it's going to be pretty easy to waste kind of instant speed discard and then get him back onto the field pretty easily, especially just by paying his costs and discarding a card, and you get him back anyways.
Yeah.
So we'll see how all of the erratas play out. I know you also have some issues with Utgarda Loki and stuff too, him being too strong, but we'll have to see where those kind of lie. It's a talk for another time, but I am curious about like why where Australia is getting all this information too. I think that's something else that we were going to talk about. Like, why are they kind of privy to all this, like CR updates and stuff? I think it's pretty interesting.
Well, it's just random people like us finding out that the CR update was going to happen was also partially from Stephanie Shaw, who, as far as I'm aware, is not Australian. So it's a little bit of everything. But having all these.
Maybe she heard about it from the Australians, so who knows?
Well, I'm trying to remember. I could be wrong, but I think Australia's distributor is pretty close with Forceable, so it could be something like that they're privy to, like specifics about the CR and what it's going to do and intending to do and stuff like that.
Well, hopefully, I would definitely rather have these CR changes and have the erratas than not have them, which is I think it's better news that Forceable is doing this and recognizes that some things need to be fixed, and there is kind of, even though it's not really communication, it's one-sided communication, they're still doing stuff about it. So I think it's one up than what we've what we expected them to do, I guess.
Yeah, but also from the general public though, it's hard to tell what expectations might be as well, and it's like. This also could have been a lot easier if we it's weird that we're finding all this out from secondhand and from Australia and stuff like that. This seems like, why doesn't the company just come out and say this, or why don't they come out? Because I'm pretty sure this was one of the questions in the Q&A from now 2 months ago that was done was if there would be CR updates and stuff like that, and if we ever had answers to that Q&A, that would have been like, oh, okay. We know CR is coming. We don't need to freak out or have all this crazy speculation. It might be running late, but at least we know it's coming. So it's just weird, not only the lack of communication, but this just full-on blackout when it could be positive PR spins and it's coming out across negative because people don't know what's happening until the last second, which we'll get into another part of that in a minute of something else that could be positive. Oh, and another clarification: the CR was that Alice is in fact going to be with the addition. It is every resonator, so it's 244,000 attack or whatever. Which I won't be able to build a deck, but I wanted to build a deck around that, but it's too expensive now. But maybe on Lackey I'll build a deck. Did you have anything else on that?
No. I think that was all we were kind of covering with that, with the possibilities that are coming out. We'll have to keep our eye on it and see what exactly, if it's a combination of CR updates or erratas, where that information is going to come from, what's on their what's on the front page of Force of Will on the website, just stuff like that. It'll be pretty interesting.
I apologize real quick if you can hear my dog eating in the background, but she's hungry. But going on to a similar topic of the company doing stuff, potentially listening to people's feedback, it sounds like it's pretty much confirmed that the company is in fact coming out with another print run of Decisive Battle of Valhalla. So once again, if you missed it, go check out the TCG news, as well as another video Oscar and I did going over the sort of craziness that was the release of this set. But basically a lot of people did not get sets that were pre-ordered and different things like that, and even if everyone had gotten the sets that were pre-ordered, Forcewood did not do what they usually did. It sounds like they just printed to pre-order instead of pre-order plus 10% or whatever they usually do, so there's just no extra product. And as such, as of right now, did it go up or down? Let me check the current price of the booster box, but it was up there last time we had checked. Just give me half a sec. That's a Battle of Valhalla. Oh, best selling right now is Clockwork Girl. Cool. Okay,
pretty interesting.
It went down. Looks like it's completely settled at $145 for a booster box, which obviously is a lot more. Usually it comes out $90 to $100, and then it settles around $80. Unless it's a solid set, then it's $90 to $100. And if it's any other set, then it goes down to 50 or 40, whatever. But yeah, so hopefully that'll fix the price as well as availability, because that's a big deal for a card game that's half and half on how it might be doing to suddenly people not have access to the product.
Yeah, and at least they realized, the shortage and people getting mad and having that shortage and what it's kind of doing to the secondary market and stuff, and they're fixing it.
Yeah, to be fair, I don't know if they care about the secondary market. That was a thing that was said in the past with the person who's currently in charge. I remember during Alice Cluster was hearing that they don't look or care about the secondary market, and that might have changed, but yeah.
I thought I'm not gonna get into that. I thought in Rudy's video that he did, something he highlighted was that they were going to look at the secondary market more.
No, it might be him speculating, but I think he was basically saying like they're trying to control. His speculation is that they purposely shorted it to increase the price of the boxes, and by doing that, you sort of increase, possibly increase hype for the set and different things like that, and create an artificial look of growth. Maybe different things like that could be factors, but
well, they ideally, as a company, like Magic always says they don't try. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. I was gonna say they don't usually try and let the secondary market like run what they do, but they actually, I think they have acknowledged multiple times that they won't try and tank something like by banning it or releasing it in Masters and stuff and creating So yeah, I don't just ignore that point. I was.
But
not a good point.
Whether this is this could be one of two things. This could be, once again, following the theme of the last one, is them potentially listening to people and their feedback and being like, oh shoot, we messed up on this, let's print some more so people actually have product. Or it could be one theory that was put out there. I think I had mentioned it, and I think Rudy had mentioned it could be a thing when I asked him, was that it like they could have, because if you look at the US specifically and say take out 3 of the distributors, only one of the distributors, and it's one of the big distributors, which is why so many people had problems, did not have enough product. And so one idea was like maybe something happened to the product on the way over. If they had done the route that they had done with I think it was said that the starter decks, was it the Nouveau Hall starter decks, they were trying to save on money, so they sent him by boat to the US instead, and so part of the shipment fell in the water or something like that, and so they were short. There was a big shortage of that.
I thought that was like a rumor or something. I don't know.
It was something a store had said,
keeping up with,
and I don't know if we ever confirmed it from outside of that store. But the something similar might have happened to this. If they were trying to save money, maybe they sent them by boat. Some of it gets lost, or a lot of it gets damaged, and it was the allotment sent specifically to maybe that distributor or some of the other distributors, because there's some stuff in the other countries, and so that's why the shortage. So even before we got the product, they were already aware of it and already firing up for the second print run and knew that ahead of time. Could be a possibility. I think. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean I kind of agree. I don't know about like, it seems weird to blame like operational stuff or like shortages on operational issues. That's still feel like that's kind of just like it's rumor. Like, I don't know how
it's all rumor.
I don't know. I don't know how much that would affect like all these shortages that people are having.
Yeah, it's still just speculation. We'll literally never know because it's forcible now.
Yeah, I mean, let's say I think this next print run we'll see. We'll get a better view of how much, like, I guess what the issue might have been. Like if all these distributors all of a sudden get a bunch of these boxes in, that weren't having them, then maybe it might have been some kind of weird logistical issue where I don't know, something happened like that. But I don't know. I don't know how they're like. To me, it sounds like they, and I was listening to someone was talking about something that they only print, since they only print what's there's certain allotment for pre-orders and stuff, and pre-orders are like 5 or 6 months before the set. It's even a lower number since they're already printing and have a set allotment before spoilers are even out. So it's like you don't even get spoilers before they're already printing out what they want, and it's like, so how would people be looking at the spoilers and decide they want something, put in their pre-order set, but they've already printed that stuff out. So I don't know, could just be like just regular supply and demand stuff.
Yeah, no.
Hopefully more stuff comes in. Stuff on the secondary market gets cheaper too, because
I'm just hoping that with the second print run, they don't do like what they've done with past second print runs, especially once I rush rake this, where they go to a way cheaper printer and just get it out there. Because one thing we've been talking about is how good a print quality this is, and it's amazing, like really good print quality. And it would suck to get that print quality we've gotten with other sets, where it's just like terrible. Like texture is literally just texture in the sense that if you put in a certain light, you can kind of see texture, but it just feels like a flat foil. You can see the fading, you can feel the grime. It's just very obvious the quality of the set, cards and stuff like that, which is super unfortunate. So I really hope they stick with the same printer for the second print run. But talking about the printers, is they also showed an image of Alice Origin of the booster box. I'll try to remember to let Oscar know to put up an image here of it. But the make a note. The booster box for Alice Origin.
I'm totally noting him right now.
It could be a normal booster box, but the image they put out looks very similar to the booster boxes we got for a little while that were the hard boxes that were really nice, almost like Fat Packs or Elite Trainer boxes. That had the booster packs. That was everyone's favorite stuff from it, and that could conceivably straight up be a Fat Pack box if they are because they're shrinking down to 20 packs in a box, and that would make sense because you don't need the big old thing they have now, and so if you're shrinking down, maybe switching to something like that would actually be ideal. But that would be super cool. If they did that, I'd be so happy. If they went with the current printer they have for the nice quality cards and they switched to the hard boxes, I would, even though I prefer the bigger booster boxes, I would 100% be okay with that sort of trade-off of going to the nicer print quality with the hard boxes, but reduced set size.
Well, that could be another reason why the slight technical slight increase in booster box costs. Like we went down to a smaller size of booster boxes, but the price went up just a little bit. So it could be that the reason they're doing that is because of the clamshell boxes and stuff and the nicer boxes.
Yeah,
but that's interesting.
I'll make a note. I lost.
Yeah.
My spot.
So are we? Do you want to move on to the next topic?
Yeah, so I'm trying to think of like a good. There was something else I wanted to talk about regarding all this, but yeah, we'll move on to just. We've sort of given our general thoughts of the set and everything. So one thing we've been working on are different decks. I think you've been working on it a little bit more actively than I have, at least. All right, Jay.
Yeah, I made like 4 or 5 decks that are probably not that great, but
it's interesting stuff. And so we'll if you guys want to see us sort of kind of working our way through it, we put up our gameplay videos on Patreon until we get to like the final deck, and then that's what we'll record and put up on the main channel if we ever get to it. Hopefully, Oscar will. I have a lot of stuff going on, so it might be a minute before we do physical gameplays, but we'll be hopefully doing real-life physical gameplays at some point, especially now that we have nice lighting. We have that to film. We want to do some Chrono Clash stuff, and we got a Gem Blenders here, which I'm pretty excited to look over too as well. It's an indie card game, but so I'm still have been. It's been interesting because I have my machine deck is basically what I'm putting like all my focus on, and I think that's where a lot of potential for me at least is, because that's where it was before this set. Was people a lot of times weren't expecting machines, or if they are, I feel like I'm pretty good at playing them. I've got it pretty down pat, similar to how I used to have pandas down pat. Um, and so I'm pretty confident in how it can run. And the support they added obviously was like God support that made it way stronger. So I've been really happy working with that, working in Deus Ex Machina. And Arthur is a big one. And I felt justified because even though there were cluster-only tournaments, it felt like machines were pretty up there, and also the target of some of the bans and stuff like that. So
it's funny. It's funny that you say that because the only machine deck in all the top 16, technically from both cluster-only tournaments, was like there's still only one machine deck out of all of them.
Well, it's because
yes it won, and yes they did ban Lancelot in this tournament, which I think pretty much kills machines. But
I don't think it kills them, but yeah, that's a big thing because my whole thinking behind it was like everything else is just fuel for Lancelot. If you get Lancelot in the field and you can make him stick in the form of protecting him or getting other Lancelots to put on the field, you're set because you control the board. You have enough counters to infinitely just kill whatever they put on the board. If they put out something that has barrier or can't be targeted, or if they judgment, very good chance you have enough counters to remove 10 and just wipe the resonators and remove the abilities for the J ruler, so you can go in for the kill on that.
Yeah,
stuff like that.
I was talking to Colin about this too. I'm surprised that in this tournament they banned Lancelot. Like, I never felt like, I don't know, I haven't played the upgraded machines list. I played Colin's machines list, which was very, very similar to the one that won the last tournament. But I never felt like, I feel like Lancelot himself is like, he still dies to removal. He still dies to anything that kills him. Like, it's not like machines have, like, they didn't really have, like, that machines list in particular didn't have stuff that stopped you from just destroy target Lancelot, you know? Like, yes, you know, Deus Ex Machina was insane, and I think there's a lot of, like, really, really great stuff in there, but I'm just surprised, like, it was Lancelot that got the ban. Like, it was like, once you kind of get Lancelot going, if he's down and, you know, there's Arthur's, like, Arthur, you can just remove 3 counters, and then at the start of your turn, he gets his counters back. So, like, it's obviously Lancelot is insane, but he does seem like you could play around him very, he seems like he has counters, and he seems like he's fair. He's fair. I think that's what I'm trying to get at. Like, he is a fair card. That you can kill, and you can...
It depends, because you also got to remember that with Clockwork Girl, you're able to splash green inside of machines, which gives pretty good protection mechanisms for Lancelot.
Right, maybe, but I'm just saying, like, look at the deck. If you look at the deck list, that was posted, that won the previous Italian Masters or whatever, that came in first. Like, it didn't have anything. It didn't even really have any green. Like, it couldn't protect Lancelot.
Well, yeah, there's nothing else to protect in there, because if Deus Ex activates correctly, he has Eternal. You don't need to worry about him too much, really. And the other ones aren't worth putting protection on, because they have various abilities. Clockwork Girl, when she goes to the graveyard, there's an effect that helps you. The Arthur, you can, in response, draw a card.
My point is, killing Lancelot isn't like, I don't know, it seems like he wouldn't be, it seems like all the synergy, and banning out Lancelot maybe kills all the synergy, but it didn't seem like Lancelot would have been, you know, it's just like, it's banning, like, I personally didn't really think is very good, because, like, it's banning machines because they're machines. Like, there's no target card you can ban, like in an altar deck, you know, you ban altar. And Layla still might be a little bit of a problem, but she, you know, or you ban Layla, and Alter might not be a problem now. In machines, it just seems like banning Lancelot is like, I don't know. It's weird to me. It's a very weird option to me. I was trying to find this stupid list.
Before we get too sidetracked, so yeah. What's like one of the newer ones? Because we know you were working on, or people know of your Fuji list, and you had a Loki list, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not like any of the other Loki lists that I've been seeing. It's pretty much Loki machines, because I feel like there's really good stuff in Loki machines. Like, see, part of my issue is that I think I still need to work it out. For example, I was running Freya because Freya lets you look at the top 2 cards and discard one. And if you have perfect Loki out, you can discard Fenrir, and that gets you Fenrir. And so instead of discarding him, he comes out of the field. The issue with that, and that I can think about, is that if you have perfect Loki, judgmented, you're pretty much going to win the next turn with giants. So it's like, why do I even have Freya trying? But at the same time, I do think that she fixes the top of your decks and stuff. So it probably needs a little bit of work. I think a lot of people are pretty much going like alter Loki and stuff, which is probably better anyways.
Well, there's no reason not to go alter in any deck that can go alter.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's Isis decks that Isis can go alter, but there's decks that are not doing that.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know. I think it's interesting. Personally, I think a lot of these deck lists have kind of like made me look at Dark Owls, who's kind of the MVP of all of these decks that we're looking at, or that are like top 8ing. It's like Alice is like in easily half to like 75% of them, just because of her color fixing and her drawing ability and all that stuff. So
yeah,
I think that's very interesting. And I haven't made anything with her and Kaguya yet, but I feel like it's pretty nasty. Pretty much so. Like, I'm really just excited about the Fuji list that I made. He's so much fun to play now. He's like the most fun to play.
It's pretty interesting. Yeah, in fact, because what was like one of the because he's got from they basically did to him what they did with Loki, where it's like, I know how to make this good, just ignore the other stuff and do new stuff. Well, by introducing the dragon counters or whatever, and that whole combo, I think, is like the main point of your deck now, which has almost nothing to do with Fuji outside of it works good in Fuji.
I wouldn't say that. Here's the thing about Fuji, right? It's like you put in your Fuji deck list, and then they came out with basically what's his name, Shen Gong, I think, and the tiny water fire dragon. And it's like, and literally I just put those 2 cards into the Fuji deck, and everything else is kind of the same. I still have the dragons, I still have the flame dragon summoning. It's just those 2 cards just make the deck an actual threat now. Like, it doesn't completely overwrite Fuji's dragon-y abilities and stuff. See, my issue with the Loki stuff is that he was Awakenings, and now he's not any of that. But Fuji at least still wants to summon dragons, and he still wants to play the Lord of Vermilion Dragon. And yeah, sure, he's a little wonky now with his new mechanics, but at least Loki, like, at least he still has his other mechanics that he uses.
Yeah. No, it's pretty interesting.
I still feel like Fuji is still the same Fuji deck, the crappy Fuji deck that I made. It's just good now. Like, I still get to play dragons. Now those dragons deal 1,200 damage, and they attack for like 1,300 attack instead this time. So it's like they're still awesome.
Well, the dragon or whatever that has
fire and water dragon. It's a dragon.
Yeah, it's not a dragon in the sense of what Fuji combos with, but the dragon that actually has the ability of they gain attack and defense based on damage dealt to them and stuff like that from ender effects. That was really good, and that's something that should have been printed forever ago. Set 2 at the latest in this cluster after they'd already introduced a dragon that enters and what was it, Neo Berserk or one of those that enters and deals damage to then both you and your opponent's field.
He definitely should have came out in the same set as Neo Berserk.
Yeah, this is something that Fuji needed like from the beginning, and so it's cool it's getting out, but it definitely should have had it the whole time. But I think that one is actually super good and synergetic with him, Fuji specifically with his type of deck, because you're searching out these hefty dragons that might be clunky in other decks, but they might work better in a Fuji deck, especially when you specify the deck for him. So my biggest problem is like cards that are like, hey, because with Fuji it's like, okay, what goes good with Fuji? Oh, 4 cost or less dragons. Okay, because that works with his ability. I don't like when they're like, hey, there's this card. Why is this good with Fuji? Well, because it literally has text on it that says this card is only good with Fuji. It's like, well, it feels like you're kind of jamming that in there rather than making it naturally synergistic. Like, some of it's not as bad as that. Like, I think they did a good job with machines of like, hey, this comes in and this has this counters, but if you have a machine, he replenishes the counters because he's a machine, so he's going to fix them up and get those counters all working again. I like that type of stuff, works fine, but stuff like that and perfect Loki and stuff like that, it's just like I don't like when they're just like jamming it in and being like, also
even like Satan made a ton of sense in black. Like, you got
Satan doesn't make any sense
he does. He's based on losing life. Like, that's great.
No, I'm talking about like it's just a lot on that card to figure out what exactly is going on.
No, I think they did a lot of good stuff with a lot of the, like, I like where kind of Bastet and those kind of cats, like, because Hanzo has always been technically kind of about cats, and now they printed more cats for him, so it makes sense. Adam is kind of wishy-washy.
There's a lot of hype around Adam right now,
yeah. No, Adam apparently is really good now, which is pretty cool.
Once again, it has nothing to do with Adam himself.
Yeah,
but
really, it's just the Adam Resonator and how he synergizes with Dark Alice. Like, Dark Alice is the flavor of the month card. Like, it's a flavor card right now. It's the hot shit.
Yeah,
but
it's like with Adam, something that like made it so that I can't even think of something off the top of my head, but something that has to do with the J Ruler side, whether it be like something that makes it so he flips easily and can flip back and forth, or something that goes into his rune area that doesn't have quick cast but is super, super good with quick cast, and so he can give a quick cast. Stuff like that would have been great to go with Adam.
I liked how they make Adam kind of, it seems like he is based around playing his runes, and I like that the Adam Resonator rewarded you for having rune 5. Like, that's what Adam could have been about, like playing runes and steadily getting more and more powerful because you keep hitting those rune limits. Like, rune 3 he does this, rune 4 he does this, rune 5 now he's a 2 cost 1400 resonator. So I think that was great. I just didn't see where they were going with Dark Alice and all that nonsense. So yeah, but anyways,
but I would say after I'm done, I'm going to refine my machine deck a bit here. After that, my next thing I'm probably going to work on is a sort of janky Brunhild deck, which just revolves around using like Odin and stuff to try and just reset the game and stuff like that. That's my next thing. I want to try and see if I can get that to work the way I want to in my head. I would never play if it works the way I want to in my head. I would never that's not a deck I would ever bring to locals because I feel that'd probably be kind of toxic if that works. But that's my next thing I want to work on, and I'll just in the background off and on work on my super toxic Lucifer deck.
Yeah.
Which is even way more toxic now. Holy crap!
No, first of all, it's technically less toxic. You see, the thing about it, Colin, is that because Ugarda Loki is going to get errated, you can't discard the first card that they draw unless you have targets to target. Yeah, and
there'll always be targets.
Not always be targets. Not if you cleared their field and you're trying to lock them down to one card.
No, because I can just destroy one of mine and reanimate it or something like that, which could work in my favor, especially if I'm running Layla. I just throw Laylas out to destroy, which, if I don't have Altar on the field, is super in my favor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not worried about that.
I'm just saying, I feel like that function of the deck got worse, but Ugarda Loki definitely got way better. But my next list is probably gonna be super similar to a lot of kind of these lists with utilizing Alice and Kaguya. Like, I wanna get that like really gross cancel kind of recurring cancel stuff going on. Just gonna be really gross. Yeah. I think it's super cool that you can for example, if you put like one Kaguya in all of the Layla altar lists, and then just keep your altar at like 3 costs, you basically have like an instant summon cancel target spell available. So you can sack altar. And even though you don't have her colors at all, you can still bring her in and cancel something. So I think
the only thing that's missing, and it probably is something I'm not thinking about, but the only thing that's missing is a way to recycle cards in your hand back into the deck, similar to, I forget, the World Tree card from back in Alice Cluster. You need some way, if you pull that card, to get rid of it back into your deck so that you can pull it out with Altar.
Yeah, no, I don't think that altar deck is gonna, like, that's not what I'm going to aim for. I just thought that it's a really cool interaction though. Like being able to alter into like a cancel for like at quick cast speed, I think is pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
But I don't think it's a viable thing at all, and definitely not to rely on altar. But it's pretty much because I saw a lot of the deck lists ran like Bastet and Kaguya, and it's like that's a nasty combo. Kaguya and her Chant / Rune is a nasty combo, so some gross stuff out there. I think that's probably what I'm gonna kind of net deck a little bit and tweak it.
But we'll go ahead and wrap it up right here. Mm-hmm. So we're gonna continue talking on the mini podcast. If you guys want to join over at patreon.com/TCG Scrubs, it helps out a lot. Like I just said, with us upgrading all of our equipment, all the money we get from it goes straight back into the channel. That's how we've slowly been able to get really nice quality and stuff like that. But yeah, we'll be, I think, discussing some stuff, maybe either some other topics or the top 8 from what was the place? Frankfurt, which was another cluster GP. But Joey gave his thoughts on some of the band. But yeah. Thanks guys for tuning in.
Thanks. Bye.